HogvilleNET YouTube Live. I'm in a hotel room in Kansas City. I hope we're not having too much of an echo in here. Kind of a makeshift YouTube Live on Sunday evening over Memorial Day weekend. This is the weekend, by the way, for the 2024-25 season. The new roster. We know John Calipari starting from scratch. 7 pledges, 7 signees. Players should be moving in and onto campus this weekend. Of course, Monday's Memorial Day weekend holiday. Then Tuesday's the start of summer session 1. Additionally, you'll have physicals taking place. Calipari, as soon as players clear those, can start limited practices potentially this coming week. Maybe he waits a week or so. The previous staff used to jump right to it. So we'll see how John Calipari does that. But Arkansas, look, even I think we were a little bit sticker shock when he was talking about 8 or 9, going 8 or 9 deep only on a roster, and what he would have on his team. It seems still a bit confusing as does he stop at 8 or 9 in terms of those are the guys he's targeting to be part of a rotation, and then maybe he backfills the roster. You can have as many as 13 scholarships, potentially with 2 or 3 more players that may not project into your top group. It doesn't sound like, based on what he said, that that's the plan. You just never know. But the point is, Arkansas is still at 7 now that move-in day's here. We know it's been a little bit complicated. That's the word I've used from a couple of sources in terms of what was going on with DJ Wagner. Private commit. We'll go into more details later if we can. If DJ Wagner, I said this recently, if he ends up doing something else, we'll share as much as we can. If he commits, some of these complicated details may never see the light of day. It won't matter. He'd be a Razorback at that point. And the folks I talked to, nothing has changed in terms of it. Arkansas makes the most sense based on everything. It's where I still think he ends up at the end of the day. But 2 weeks now, we're into the weekend, again, Memorial Day weekend. We're 2 weeks removed from his weekend visit to Arkansas. No commitment. We know he previously took no public commitment. We know he previously took a visit to Southern Cal, was considering, according to reporting by Adam Zagori, to take a visit to Florida. Then really not much has come out of that in terms of, did he do that? If so, that he did it under the shade of night. And then, what else might be out there? Is he waiting to see the dust settle with players in the NBA draft? You hit May 29th, Wednesday is the deadline to withdraw if you want to return to school. There's still some backcourt players that have decisions to make. Would he be hanging around? This is speculation now to see what shakes out there. Are there other things? The stuff that I was told made this situation a little bit complicated. Was also told that they didn't think it would impact the final decision, but now we're 2 weeks later. Maybe it does. We'll see. But I'm still sticking with DJ Wagner will be a Hog until I hear something differently, that he's looking at going another direction. Right? We spent some time on that. I think Arkansas needs another frontline piece. Let's say you add DJ Wagner and he comes off the board tonight or tomorrow or the next few days to Arkansas. Now you're up to 8 players. Calipari spoke in terms of 8 or 9. To me, if you're looking at what makes the most sense in terms of needs, would be another front court player. I've been saying that, nothing new there. A 4 that can maybe stretch the floor a little bit and complement guys like Jonas Adu and Big Z. Somebody that can slide over and play the 5. I've talked about it, a combo 4-5. Coleman Hawkins is the top name out there. The last time we did one of these a few days ago, I told you, hit a source that's talking to him and interacting with him on a daily basis in his process through the NBA draft, has told me he's 75-25. Coleman Hawkins is that he'll go pro and stay in the draft. Coleman Hawkins last week during the NBA draft combine in an interview said he was 90-10. So 75-25 is a trend in the better direction if he returns to college. But it seems like a pretty heavy, if that number's reliable, pretty heavy lean towards staying in the draft. Coleman Hawkins is projected, when you look at mock drafts, anywhere at best case scenario, mid-second round. A lot of projections that he doesn't get drafted, and some thought that he might end up being a guy that's, looking at maybe getting a 2-way deal. There's pros and cons of that, especially for a guy that's played 4 years of college. Returning to school wouldn't to me be as much about necessarily for a guy at his age and experience at the college level improving to a first round grade, but more about getting an NIL bag that would be better than potentially he could get if he doesn't think he's going to get drafted or a guarantee. He's looking for a draft guarantee. So that's important. Traore is staying in Europe. That's we're getting some comments already. H fan he likes to come in here and put a lot of valuable comments. By the way, he's one of the better ones. All of you are good, but I see H fan puts a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, so we're going to move. We're going to get to the guys in Europe here in a minute. We're talking really now still about portal guys in the NBA draft process. I told you guys recently that JT Toppin, freshman at New Mexico, had a good draft combine. It very well may be, after a freshman season, he's still a guy that can improve his draft stock and potentially move himself into a first round grade this time next year. So I think there are more reasons for him to return to school. 6'9" forward center. But I'm told again by a source who's directly involved with him in his decision making process, whether it's pro or college, that he'd already narrowed down to 2 or 3 schools before even Arkansas even had its coaching situation resolved. So if he stays in the draft, it's a moot point. If he comes back, Arkansas is not in the mix there. I suppose anything can change, but I don't see Arkansas being at play for JT Toppin if he comes back to school. Coleman Hawkins, if he chooses to dip out of the draft, I guess his options are stay at Illinois. North Carolina was thought to be heavily pursuing him, may still be. Remember, North Carolina just got a commitment from Vin Allen Lubin, who took about a week or so after his visit to Chapel Hill to commit. So he's off the board, 6'8" forward, transferred from Vanderbilt. Makes a lot of sense to add that frontline piece. Would that then make Coleman Hawkins think twice about going to Carolina, battling for extra front court minutes? I think at Arkansas, when you look at what's there, Big Z and Jonas Adu, basically fives, and you've got a 3-4 tweener in Adu Thero. So I think Coleman Hawkins, when you just look at Arkansas, it seems to have better opportunity for him to continue to have a big role, big minutes, and actually serve a purpose as a complementary piece who can give you production, be in a star role, but he's not necessarily competing for minutes with other frontline guys, because the other two that you're going to be, to me, splitting time, alternating time, Big Z and Jonas Adu. I don't know how those splits will be. Adu is a second team All SEC guy coming back to college for his 4th season after transferring from Tennessee. And Big Z's a guy that's played 15 minutes in his college career as a freshman at Kentucky. But still, those are your 2 fives. There may be opportunities for small stretches of games to have them on the court together, at least experiment with it. But a Coleman Hawkins makes a lot of sense. I explained JT Toppin's situation. To me, those are 1-2 of guys you would like to get. Arthur Kaluma is another one that transferred from Kansas State, originally from Creighton. To me, he's more of an Adu Thero, 6'7", 6'8", sort of a tweener, 3-4 guy. He can stretch the floor, knock down some threes, but he could help you on the front line in a small ball 4 lineup. I like Coleman Hawkins a lot better, just in terms of giving you somebody that can play the 4-5. So that's my take on that. There's some other names in the portal. Wooga Poplar, he's also in the NBA draft pool, also went through the combine. We'll see if he comes off the board in terms of coming back to school, or if he stays on the board and stays in the draft. But he's a guy, 6'5" guard out of Miami. We've talked a lot about. He's talking about taking a visit to Arkansas. So if he stays on the college route, Arkansas could be one of 3 or 4 schools to actually get a visit from him. So we're going to keep an eye on Wooga Poplar. 14 points per game, somewhere in that 13-point range. A really good shooter from 3, over 35%. So I like the possibility with Wooga Poplar in your backcourt. If he does visit and you still don't have a commitment from DJ Wagner, what does that say about your backcourt where you are in the lead guard spot with Wagner, and potentially Poplar being a guy that can be a combo and maybe help with some on-ball duties if you were to get him to visit and get him? So to me, that kind of wraps up the portal talk. When we look at there's some momentum, at least in the rumor mill for Arkansas and Igor Demin, the 6'8" combo guard, projected in the 2025 draft. Now he would be he's projected as a lottery pick, maybe a top 10 pick in that 2025 draft. So he would be a freshman. He would be part of a freshman class. Any college, if he chooses to go to college for a year before, applying for and entering that draft in a year. So he'd be, basically a freshman, but a 6'8" combo guard, outstanding player. Just had 26 points, 11 rebounds, I think 6 assists. Had a really big game in a championship in the Euro League ANGT tournament. Real Madrid won that. Hugo Gonzalez was an absolute star in that, as was Igor Demin. BYU, Arkansas maybe are the 2 colleges, if he does stateside to go to school now that the season's wrapping up over there. That would be an incredible get for Arkansas, but because again, we're talking to a guy who's projected as a top 10 pick potentially in a year. You don't know. It doesn't always work out with guys in their first year of college. Sometimes the pro game is better fit for them. You just never know till you get him on campus and get him as part of your program, and then getting them competing in real games against live bullets. But you always want those level of players, and Calipari's always identifying first round draft picks, one and done type guys. And so we're so used to seeing the stars and the five stars and the high school scene in the United States, but some of the best players in the NBA now we know are international players. All you have to do is look at the top of the league, and you see that year in and year out of late. And some of these players can come and have an impact in college for a year. So Igor Denham, I saw Nolan Traore, the 6'4" combo guard, had a 45.9 assist game in the same event that I was just talking about in the EuroLeague ANGT event. Big time player. There's some scuttlebutt that maybe he stays in Europe and doesn't go and do the college thing for a year before being eligible for the 2025 draft. Another top 10, potentially top 5 projected guy in that 2025 NBA draft. So, and a guy that if you got him, now it gets crowded in your backcourt. Not if it's just him and Boogie Fland, but if you do get DJ Wagner, now you would have 3 guys vying for playing time. I think it gets a little bit crowded there. Too many mouths to feed maybe at the one. And those guys are versatile. A couple of those guys could play your 2. I just don't know how you disperse minutes when you're looking at Nelly Davis, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond in that backcourt. And if Arkansas adds another frontline piece, let's say it's Coleman Hawkins, I'm just throwing that out there. It may be a long shot. He may stay in the draft. But now you've got a dude Thurl that you can slide him, have a big lineup, and he's at the 3. So now all of a sudden your 1, 2s, and 3s get really crowded if you have. But I do think an Igor Denham makes sense in terms of perimeter shooting at 6'8". Not only can he stretch the floor, really good 3-point shooter. I think Arkansas can add some shooting, and it helps the team. But also maybe he plays some 3-4 small ball lineup, help you at the 4, where you still can get 3 other guards on the court with him, and you're not pressed for guys not getting playing time. So I understand the 8 or 9. Go 8 or 9 deep. Any of these combinations, DJ Wagner, Coleman Hawkins, Igor Denham, Coleman Hawkins, DJ Wagner, Igor Denham. Let's say it's a version of one of those 3 options, 2 out of the 3 names we just mentioned. Then you get to 8, then you would get to 9 scholarship players, and it would hit that limit where the guys that are most likely going to have roles and get minutes are going to be. You're not really going to go beyond that. The idea of having more players than that is to get through practices and get through a season where there's always attrition, whether it's injuries, illness, or even foul trouble within games, attrition within games. So we're always keeping an eye on that. But Arkansas very well may be starting up summer 1 next week with only 7 players, as we still wait on DJ Wagner and some of these other things to shake out. The Euro competition winding down. The NBA draft players that want to come back to college have until Wednesday, May 29th, to withdraw. So things should start to clear up as far as the totality of things in terms of who's available, who's not, moving as soon as next week, which will be very interesting for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Okay, everybody knows this. I told you I'm in a hotel room in Kansas City. I've been covering the Nike EYBL, EYCL events in Kansas City this weekend. Got here Thursday night. We'll be wrapping up on Monday, tomorrow on the holiday, getting back to Little Rock. Last weekend, I was on the Adidas circuit through SSB. So not only have I covered the top 5 players in the country, according to the various recruiting services, composite top 5, over spanning these 2 events, but I've interviewed these guys. I've gotten video highlights of their play, interviewed each one of them. Arkansas's name, I bring it up because I cover Arkansas recruiting, but all of them talk fondly about John Calipari, Arkansas, and expressing desires to visit. So last weekend, it was Darren Peterson, the number 3 overall player, 6'5" guard. Koa Pete, the number 5 overall player in the country, a 6'8" forward. This weekend, AJ DeBonsa, the number 1 player in the country in 2025, 6'9" combo forward, prolific prep in California, plays with the Oakland Soldiers here on EYBL. Have covered him multiple games, interviewed him. He did express interest in Arkansas and potentially visiting. The number 4 overall player, Malik Thomas, a 6'4" guard. But by the way, all these players, I absolutely love their games. What's not to like? They're top 5 rated 5 stars. But Malik Thomas, I've seen him play multiple times this weekend, got to interview him. And then one more name I'm leaving out here. Cam Boozer, Cameron Boozer, the number 2 overall player, 5-star. Did interview him. I did interview him and get that. I got that tweeted out. And he basically said Arkansas is on the level with the other teams that he's looking at, and Arkansas is among like his finalists. And most of these players, some of these players, that's the case. When you talk about Darren Peterson, when you talk about Malik Thomas, when we're talking Boozer, and we'll see what happens with some of these other guys, Koa Pete and some others at the top of that list. But there's some other 5-star guys that I've been able to watch and I'm really impressed with. And the one I really wanted to spend more time on in 2025 is Will Riley, a 6'8", versatile, sharpshooting combo forward. I've watched him play several times this weekend. I'd seen him play previously, but man, just came off a 32-point game earlier today. Last weekend it was 42 points and he made 15 to 16 field goals, 5 of 5 from 3. And this guy can stroke the basketball, can get it at all 3 levels. Really good player. When I interviewed him after his game the other night, he did talk about Arkansas. He's got visits set up. He's already visited Arizona. He's looking to take a visit potentially the first weekend of June to Kentucky. He wants to visit Alabama. Maybe that happens around that Kentucky visit, before or after. And then he's talking about Arkansas, I guess would be the final visit sometime later in June. And his 5th option, he's down to a final 5. I just named 4 of them. The other one's the National Basketball League in Australia. So a year of playing Australian professional basketball. Some players have taken that route, and then you're eligible for the draft, obviously, a year after your high school season ends, and you play either as a one and done in college potentially or go overseas. And so that's what's up with Will Riley. And just watching him compete, watching his skill level, I've compared him and Nate Ament, a 6'9" forward sharpshooter that I saw on the Adidas circuit last week, and also interviewed him and is interested in Arkansas. Arkansas's already been recruiting him. But both of these guys are rated in the top 20 when we look at the 2025 rankings, somewhere in that 15 to 20 range. And both Will Riley and Ament, not only interested in Arkansas, but Riley with Arkansas in the final 5. But both players kind of remind me of these 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guys that you see in the NBA now that stretch the floor and play more of a perimeter game. They've got guard skills, and I think of them like a Michael Porter Jr. Not going to compare any of these guys to Kevin Durant, but you start to get the picture of guys 6'9", 6'10" plus in that range that have a versatility of skills, can shoot the basketball. And so Will Riley, not only is it key that he's taking these visits, but he's considering reclassifying to 2024. And so we're talking about Arkansas's roster right now. This might be another option to get there, get 8 or 9. We've mentioned some of the other names. So he's potentially in the mix. Could he be a guy that if you pick up 2 others and you get him, now you're at 10, and you've got a world of talent now, because you've already got 3 out of the high school ranks from class of 2024. We know that signed and committed in Boogie Flan, Carter Knox, and Billy Richmond. Could you have another stateside high school player that just reclasses up, and now he's part of that freshman class? Does Igor Denham come off the board to Arkansas? Is it one of these things where Arkansas's, it's either or with Igor Denham or a Will Riley? And again, Riley's looking to reclass of 2024. So if he did that, maybe he's someone that slots into this roster for Calipari's first season at Arkansas. All right, so we've gone through some of the main stuff with some of the high school players. Another intriguing name in 2025 is an in-state kid out of Springdale, Cortland Muldrew. Has been blowing up in the spring. Just had a 30-plus point game today. Team Thad's one of the better teams, 17U out of Memphis, one of the better teams on a very competitive EYBL circuit, just racking up wins. He's a big part of that. But he's been picking up crazy offers. He's not even right now rated top 100. He's a 4-star. I think he's going to jump. He's going to be one of those chart climbers, and I mean in a big way. But Cortland Muldrew, 6'3" guard, combo guard. He's picked up offers in just the last week from Washington, Colorado, LSU just more recently, Oklahoma, West Virginia, a ton of offers. I know that Arkansas and John Calipari have interest there. And I think Arkansas is one of the, at some point you could potentially see an offer going back to in-state class of 2025. Isaiah Seeley, 6'6" combo guard, also playing with Cortland Muldrew on 17U Team Thad. Now, I watched both of these guys play this weekend. Both showed very well. Muldrew's probably the biggest chart climber there. Seeley's been rated at anywhere from 50 to 60. When you look at the various recruiting cycles, recruiting formats, And in this more recent spring cycle, I haven't seen any new offers come out for him, but he's had several high major offers already, including Arkansas from the previous coaching staff. So keep an eye on those two. They were former teammates at Springdale, by the way. Cortland Muldrews now he transferred. He's been playing at Springdale Harbor, and you've got Seeley still at Springdale, but now they're teammates again for Team Thad 17U on the Nike EYBL circuit. Okay, another class of 2025 we talk about all the time. In-state, Terrion Burgess, 6'9" combo forward, Benton, Adidas, Arkansas Hawks, 17U. The Hawks are playing in Atlanta this weekend. I got to cover him. Got a double-double in every game last weekend. Calipari was courtside watching, as was Bruiser Flint. This weekend, by the way, we're not talking about coaches because it's not a live eval period. We won't see that on the shoe circuits again until July. But this is an Nike EYBL session. I'm here. But Burgess averaged a double-double in every game last weekend in the live eval session. Again, Calipari was on courtside for one of those games going up against Darren Peterson, who I just talked about. But Burgess this weekend in Atlanta had a 20-point game last night. I think he's only playing once this weekend because he stays in Atlanta after the weekend for a 2-day mini camp with Adidas. And then he's off to Venice, Italy for his second consecutive season of Adidas Euro Camp, where you're going to see a lot of future NBA players, not only from the Adidas circuit's best players, but international players. And so another big opportunity for Terrion Burgess to showcase his game. Another player getting Arkansas interest, and another class of 2025 player in state who right now it's just about interest and not offers just yet. So we'll see if the staff ever gets around or decides it wants to offer a scholarship to in-state kids. Do they need more evaluation time? What's going on there? When I look at Burgess's recruiting, and I said this recently, I think Alabama has made him a priority, as has Ole Miss, Oklahoma, some other schools. Overtime Elite, has pursued him and sent folks down to look at him, to see him in Central Arkansas multiple times, but we'll see what happens there. And again, Muldrew's racking up high major offers. Seeley's got his share. Let's see what Arkansas does, if anything there. And then let's move to class of 2026. Two in-state guys that had really good games when I watched them on Saturday yesterday on the Nike E16 circuit. So playing with the 16U. When you talk about J.J. Andrews, ESPN has him ranked 13th, a 5-star prospect, 6'6" wing, big time player, big time talent. And this Brad Bill Elite 16 and under team has guys with size and skill and talent, and he just stands out. I mean, last night a double-double, 15 from the wing, playing from the wing, 15 points, 13 rebounds, a couple of block shots, a steal, and assist. He would have had 6 or 7 assists. He was setting guys up. They just couldn't knock down shots. So a versatile player it looks to me, just his athleticism, his length, his strength, his quickness at 6'6" as a wing. He's got a potential to be a lockdown defender. The more he develops and matures and understands the game, the more coaching he gets as he moves up through various levels. I mean, he's got the potential to be an elite backcourt defender, big time slasher, above the rim finisher, lefty that just does a lot. But 15 points, 13 rebounds, and a Brad Bill Elite win, a pull-away win on Saturday. And then Jacob Lanier, another 6'6" guard out of Central Arkansas, Maumelle last year. Combo guard, can play the 1, can play the 2, can play the 3. But Mocan Elite, 16U, was in a battle at third quarter, 14-0 run for Mocan to blow that game open. And it was all Jacob Lanier. Hit 3 threes in that run, had another driving bucket after a defender ran out to close out the 3-shot. He drives into the paint, ball fakes a big, and kind of slides on him for a nice little nifty finish. He assisted on another 3-point basket. So he accounted for all 14 points in that 14-0 run. Meanwhile, on the defensive end, he forced a couple of turnovers with some really good defensive play. Jacob Lanier finished with 15 points, efficient game for him, several rebounds and assists in that win on Saturday. Put eyes on him as well. Now, remember, Calipari last weekend during the live EYBL session in Indianapolis. I wasn't there. I was with Adidas and the Arkansas Hawks down in Texas. Calipari was in Texas on Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday he was at EYBL in Indianapolis. So he and Chin Coleman, Arkansas's associated coach, both at different times got to see J.J. Andrews play. And Arkansas also had coaches courtside, including Chin Coleman, to see Jacob Lanier last weekend. So again, this is not a live eval weekend for coaches. But these Arkansas kids, the Arkansas coaches have been out to see them. They've been in contact. We'll see where it goes from there. but I see a handful of kids in the state, the ones I just went through, 2025, Terrion Burgess, Cortland Muldrew, Isaiah Seeley, J.J. Andrews in 2026, Jacob Lanier in 2026. I see all these kids play. I've seen them up close and personal in recent weeks. And I will tell you right now, all five of those can play in the SEC. Some of them probably will be. And we'll see. Where does Arkansas land with that? Because Calipari, again, he's got offers out and a lot of eyes on some top 10, top 20 level 5 stars. J.J. Andrews fits that mold from in-state for 2026. But we'll see where Calipari lands with that. All right, we're almost 30 minutes in. I forgot to ask everybody, if you haven't already followed us, please go hit the follow button or subscribe, I guess. So go hit subscribe, please. Like and share, all those things that help us out. That helps us keep going. But it's HogvilleNET YouTube Live analysis as we get into the weekend, still looking for Arkansas to complete a roster for next season. And look at the recruiting. Look at the level of recruiting. Not only the 7 guys committed and signed, Arkansas's got arguably the top class in the country, top 5 for sure. When you look at 2020, the 2024-25 season coming up in this class of 2024, but they potentially could wrap it up by getting it done, not only portal, guys transfer from Kentucky, guys coming out of Kentucky's high school sign class, and potentially overseas. But now you're seeing these players that Arkansas is recruiting. A couple of names I didn't mention in 2025, Darius Acuff Jr., another top 10 5-star. He took a visit to Arkansas 2 weeks ago, same weekend as DJ Wagner. He's on the Nike EYBL circuit, plays for the family 17U, but he hasn't been here so far this weekend because he was taking part in Team USA Junior National Mini Camp. He's made the 18-man cut for that, which that team will compete this summer on an international basis. So he wasn't here this weekend, but another top 10 rated 5-star combo guard, 6'3" IMG Academy by way of Detroit. And then Caleb Wilson, a 6'9" combo forward, also in that Team USA camp, typically on the Nike EYBL circuit. And so, he's a guy that he also made the cut for that 18-man roster. So, that's just kind of getting through where we stand with recruiting right now. We've covered the future and present. But let's talk Pro Hogs real quick before we get out of here. We're going to get out right at 30 minutes, I hope. You've got 2 Pro Hogs still in the final in conference finals. So you've got Jordan Walsh and the Boston Celtics. Now Walsh has gotten mop-up duty in a previous series, not so far against the Pacers, but 3-0 lead for Boston. We'll try to close it out with a sweep in Indianapolis in their next game. That might be Monday night, but a 3-0 series lead for the Celtics to advance to the finals. Would be the second time in the last 3 seasons that the Celtics are able to do that, getting to the NBA Finals. And then Daniel Gafford and the Dallas Mavericks up 2-love over the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the Mavericks, the 5 seed, upset a 4 seed in the LA Clippers in the first round of the playoffs, upset the top seed Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference semifinals in the previous series, 4-2, and now up 2-love, winning both road games against the 3rd-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves, who were coming off a series win over the defending NBA champs, Denver Nuggets. And so Dallas is back home for games 3 and 4. Game 3 is tonight, here shortly, coming up shortly here in a few minutes. Game 3, Daniel Gafford, Pro Hogs, not only a starter, but averaging 13.6 rebounds and 3 blocks in this series, a big deal. In combination with Derek Lively, the rookie from Duke, both of those guys are playing outstanding. They've outplayed every opposing big man so far in the playoffs when you look at them in tandem. And then the backcourt tandem, when you start talking about obviously Luka Doncic, who I think has been the best player in the playoffs, and Kyrie Irving, who is an absolute stud in his 30s, been outstanding. You've got guys like PJ Washington, who came over to Dallas at the trade deadline from Charlotte at the same time that Daniel Gafford was picked up from Washington. And so both of those guys have been huge at pickups for the Mavericks. But you've got 2 Pro Hogs potentially now going to be moving on to the NBA Finals. So that means somebody's going to win an NBA title who's a Pro Hog if that were to happen, and it looks like it's going to. And that would give Arkansas 3 Pro Hogs in the last 4 seasons to have won NBA titles. Bobby Portis with Milwaukee back in 2020-21. Moses Moody as a rookie in 21-22 with the Golden State Warriors. No Pro Hogs in the finals last year when Denver won the title. And now this year it's likely going to be a Daniel Gafford, Jordan Walsh meeting in the finals, Boston, Dallas. We're getting over my skis a little bit. Dallas still has work to do, up 2-0, but won both of those games on the road. Now has home court advantage. And just needs to win 2 of the last, I guess, 5 games. With 3 of those 5 at home, so you'd think that Dallas could find a way to do that. Boston needs one more win just for a sweep, up 3-love there. The other storyline here is Corliss Williamson's an assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We know Corliss won a national title at Arkansas in 93-94, won an NBA title as a 6th man of the Detroit Pistons in 2004, knocked off it was Shaq and Kobe coming off a recent three-peat, knocked them out in 5 games. That was a 4-1 series win for Detroit. And so now, as an assistant at Minnesota, a lot of work to do for the Timberwolves. I just mentioned they're in an 0-2 hole. Got a chance tonight in Dallas to kind of get off the mat there. But if Corliss were to win a title as an assistant coach in the NBA, just adds to his championship resume. All right. I want to thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. If anything breaks with DJ Wagner, Coleman Hawkins, anything significant, we're going to jump back in and do another live. If that's tonight, it's tonight. If it's tomorrow, it's tomorrow. I'll be in Kansas City through parts of tomorrow and then back on my way to Little Rock. But if we need to go live, I'll do it from a charter bus. I don't care. We've done a couple of hotel rooms here in the last week or so. First in Adidas in Dallas, or excuse me, not Dallas, in Texas, College Station, Bryan, and then Kansas City today. So thank you for joining me. Hit subscribe, like, and share if you haven't done it already. And until next time, we'll see you then.